going to workshop it, you and me. Just also to let you know, we're going to be probably switching over to Cole Campus maybe as soon as next week. It might take an extra week because Chris McWade, I'm sure you know him. He's the academic manager for the subject. Has done an evaluation of Teams, and they believe that Teams is not the best way to deliver a lecture, even for a digital lecture. So we're looking at switching over because all the other students for the first, second, and third year are also switching over to Cole Campus. So I'm going to let you know what's happening, but it will then just affect the way. We've had a really nice discussion today, which has been great, and I'm very happy that you and I have managed to connect, because that's the way it should be, with a more stable connection today. But moving forward, we want the classes to be more interactive, so you're not just constantly listening and I'm constantly talking, because certain pedagogical models encourage student participation, because when you participate, you learn more, because you get to ask questions and you get to include your own thoughts and thinking. And so that's really important, to include those elements in, in lecturing. So it's cool. So we're going to do a discussion now. So let's have a look. This is obviously HIMM 431, Integrated Media Management Lesson 12. Okay, so last time we looked at niches, and now we're going to do another workshop in our Days of Our Lives saga. So what's the workshop for? It's to help you internalize what we've learned today, lessons 10 and 11, and to help you integrate and to apply to industry. Okay, so based on that over there, to help you internalize and to integrate and apply to industry, let's have a look at a niche media product, song, TV, film series, and compare it to a popular mainstream blockbuster, and using theory, explain what the differences are between the two. Okay, and then this is what I wanted to say when you discuss it. And I remember, gosh, this must have been 17 years ago. I attended an industry event, 2006. Yeah, it was 17 years ago. And there was a guy, I think it was that year, or maybe the year after 2007, but I think it was 2006. And there was a guy there from Germany called Bernd Skibber. And he was busy speaking, and he made a very profound statement. He, in his German accent, said, "Somewhere in the world, someone will like it." So what he meant by that, obviously, is that if you have a niche product, there are even some people who say you should proudly exclude the masses and simply focus on niches, because if you own a niche and you own it really well, you can make a living from just serving that niche. It is easier said than done. It certainly is something that you can hang your hat on, but it's not an easy thing to do either way. So appealing to the masses is hard. Appealing to a niche is also hard. There are no shortcuts. It's just a lot of hard work. So yes, I'm hoping that this will help you to contextualize. But let's choose. I want you to choose the niche. First, decide if you want to compare a product or a song or a film or a TV series. You choose the niche, you choose the hit, and then let's discuss it. Okay, so Onlena, what do you say?
Okay, now that I have thought about it, I don't know if you still remember earlier on when I was talking about Tyler Perry.
Yes.
That's the only example I can use because that's the only thing I watch. But,
okay. Cool.
But I think if I look back at the movies, or let's just focus on series for now, so that makes sense, that he has produced, they are more of like a niche type of content because they are more specific. It's mostly for Black people who can relate to real Black struggles in a sense.
Okay.
So he makes those kind of series mostly.
Okay.
And then when we look at Hollywood's blockbusters, your Vampire Diaries, those kind of series,
Yes.
it makes sense why they are like blockbusters. I don't know if I'm making sense in what I'm saying.
You are very much so. Yes.
Yes, so
Okay. So I want you to ask you, can you name some of the stuff that Tyler Perry has made? I mean, I seem to think, but I'm sure I'm wrong, like a Waiting to Exhale with Whitney Houston. I'm sure he wasn't in that. He's done similar stuff to that, but he hasn't. And I keep thinking like, Medea, but I'm sure he wasn't involved with Medea, was he?
no, he was. He was Madea, and he was also the producer of the show and director.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
He's the one that
And
acts as Madea.
oh, okay. And so was it really good? Was it funny and was it really fun and just
Yes, I like all the movies so far.
okay? Okay,
Yeah.
but do you think that that's not mainstream? Do you think that's more niche?
I think it's more niche
Okay.
because it's always focused on a particular narrative that he has always produced from the beginning. It
Okay.
hasn't changed at any point.
Okay, and what narrative is that?
Just promoting Black culture and Black people's struggles and all that.
Okay, can you give me some specifics? What kind of struggles? What kind of culture? What kind of what does he focus on?
There's one, it's called Madea's Family Reunion. It's a movie, for example. So it's
Okay.
mostly, so in it, just to give you a short summary,
Yeah.
it's basically what it says it is. It's a family reunion where people in Madea's family come together for a family reunion, how they don't get along, how others don't get along with their parents because of certain things, all of that. And then there is one called what's the name? I'm forgetting the names, but
Okay.
there's one that has I think Madea's extended family, right? One of
Okay.
the women there was struggling with her kids, and Madea would come and intervene and all of that, how the kids were selling drugs and how they were having kids while they were also still kids and all of that. So it's basically how most Black people live, right? And
Okay.
what they go through on a day-to-day basis.
Okay. It sounds very interesting. I mean, were you inspired by the findings of the movie or by the by the storyline, by the content? Were you shocked? Were you outraged? Did you find it entertaining? Was there a message from the movie that you got? What did you make of it?
I think, firstly, I'd say it's entertaining because of the character Medea, obviously,
Okay.
and but also it makes so much sense because to a certain extent it's relatable in terms of what's happening um, in like what's happening in the world like today with certain social issues.
Okay. 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 So it was sort of social commentary, but it was also entertaining because it was sort of disguised as a comedy.
Yes, I'm looking at something here on Forbes about the Tyler Perry movies, and
Okay.
it says everyone knows what a Tyler Perry movie is going to be like. So he has kind of sort of built a brand, and he is focused on that. And I think there was a point, I think it was sometime last year, I read somewhere where he explained that he is not trying to go mainstream because people were asking why doesn't he ever collaborate with like big brands to make movies and all of that. And
Okay.
he explained that he just wants to focus on Black people and Black culture.
Okay, and I respect him for that. I mean, it's a sound strategy. I'm sure he's not doing badly financially. And the thing is, it's definitely it's so interesting. I must tell you just on that matter, there's a movie that came out. Do you watch Netflix? I mean, I don't know if you have Netflix, if you've acted. I'm sure you do.
I do.
Okay. There's a movie that just came out now. I don't know who all the actors are. I don't know if you saw it. It's called You People. Have you heard of it?
Yes, I did watch it.
Did you watch it? Okay. And what did you think?
I don't know. I liked it. It was not too bad. I just feel like it was just too overhyped. It was too overhyped, but I kind of liked it.
Okay. I don't know the girlfriend's name. I can't remember her name. She's an actress. I'm assuming she's quite well known, quite prominent.
Yes, Lauren.
Is it okay? Is she well known?
Yes, she is. I mainly watched it because I saw that she was going to be in it, and she hasn't done anything in a while. So I expected more, I think, because I just thought this would be like her actual comeback.
Okay, and then the guy who was in it, what's his name? Joshua Gad. What's his name? I can't think of his name.
I don't know the guy's name. It was my first time seeing him.
But he's been in a couple of movies. He was in Don't Look Up, and he was also in The Wolf of Wall Street. That kind of guy, you know. So I know him. I can't remember his name. And then, of course, obviously there is Eddie Murphy, who's her father. So obviously, you know, we all know him. And then there is David Duchovny, who's from X-Files. And then that chick Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who's from Seinfeld. I never watched Seinfeld, but of course you can see they specifically juxtaposed it together. It was like, he's white, she's black, he's Jewish, she's Muslim. You know, their parents are, you know, and they deliberately, you know, sort of threw them into conflict. So, you know, I mean, like Eddie Murphy in the one scene says, you know, are you seriously trying to compare slavery to the Holocaust? Do you remember?
Yes, I remember that. I think it was at dinner or something.
Yes, that's right. And of course, you know, they were both cringing. You know, the son and the daughter, like, oh, you know, I can't believe we're having this conversation. And, you know, and it was so interesting because it was, you know, and then of course, eventually they both realized that the parents are being jerks and these kids just loved each other and they just wanted to be together, you know, despite all the differences in, it's kind of like, I don't know if you ever saw, yeah, it was a while ago. The movie was called, it was Steve Martin and Eugene Levy and Queen Latifah. Wasn't Big Mama's House, that was the other chappie. Bringing Down the House with Queen Latifah in it and Steve Martin. It's probably about almost 20 years old, that movie. And same sort of vibe, you know, so he ends up, you know, trying to, and Queen Latifah played a major role. It was also dealing with these themes of, you know, sort of, you know, the clashing of and the coming together of, you know, American black and American white culture. And it was so interesting to, you know, just to see how things have changed. I mean, literally, like I was saying to you last week, you know, The Help, which is the movie that I watched, you know, with Viola Davis and Octavia Spencer in it, who now both won Oscars, and Jessica Chastain, who's also won an Oscar now, you know, and Viola Davis actually said, I regret starring in the movie because I feel like it has a white savior narrative in it, you know, and I loved the movie. I thought it was so good because it really brought to the fore these things, you know, these issues, and for me it was it had a beautiful story. You know, but the thing is, I mean, I'm not Viola Davis, you know, and you know, I respect her for her opinion. You know, she was in the movie. I can't dictate to her what she, you know, how she feels about, you know, that kind of thing. But it's so you can see as well there. Now we can argue: does You People? Would you say that You People, because we've both seen it? Okay, would you say You People is niche, or would you say it's a hit? Blockbuster, what would you say?
I'd say it's a blockbuster.
Okay, why? Because it's got big names in it.
Not just that, I also just think purely because it didn't have a niche audience, you get what I'm saying? So it involved like both black people and white people. Okay. So they were not going for a niche audience. They were not only focused maybe, for example, on a on just it's a movie for white people, it's a movie for black people.
Okay.
So I'd say it's a blockbuster, and also because they used a lot of stars. There's also a lady who was in it who's a rapper, Young Miami.
Okay.
She was also in that movie. So I think I'd say it's a blockbuster.
Okay. Great. Okay. Well, that's cool. You know, I mean, and again, as well, if you can justify that, you know, your thinking. And for example, we spoke earlier on about blockbusters. So a blockbuster will usually include big stars. You know, people who are well known, people who've done a lot, you know, people recognize, etc., etc. You could argue that because it was released on Netflix and not released on mainstream media, i.e., into the cinemas, that it's not blockbuster. But remember, not every movie that gets released into the cinemas is necessarily blockbuster. And so, like Avatar, I would say Avatar is definitely meant to be blockbuster. And I know that James Cameron specifically said, "Listen, guys, if we release the movie into cinemas, you're not going to release the movie onto DVD yet or onto streaming services until it's had a good enough run in cinemas and we can recoup those costs." Okay, so you pay. But I mean, I can't. I mean, I got free tickets to go to New Metros. That's why we went there. I am gobsmacked at the amount of money that they want to charge you. You know, for a simple 2D movie, it's like R100. If you want to do 3D or cinema privé or IMAX, you're talking about, you know, like 200 Rand a movie ticket. It's just so expensive. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to pay that. If I can get a Netflix subscription for 49 Rand a month, a Showmax subscription for 39 Rand a month, and a Disney subscription for 119 Rand a month, that is about the same as what I pay for one movie ticket at New Metro. And I pay for New Metro because it would be sad to see all those cinemas closed down or do a clinical, but gosh, I'm not prepared to pay those prices. I don't know how you feel, you know, but I thought it was just really expensive.
I'm not a movie person, so I've never even been to the movies, I'll be honest.
Really?
I've never.
Okay. Okay, that's so interesting, hey? Okay. Wow. It's very, and you know, the thing is, I mean, like, do you know what a drive-in is? I'm sure you do.
Yes, I do.
Okay, but you've never been to one.
No.
Okay, yeah. It's very interesting how the world has changed and yet how it stays the same. Okay. Well, nice discussion. Sorry, say again?
Oh, no.
Okay. Okay, cool. All right, so let's have a look at, okay, so task number 2. This is an article we can read, okay, also from Forbes. The top 10 trends, tech trends in 2023 that everybody must be ready for. Okay, so these are the things, that's what they discussed. So AI everywhere, so obviously AI, artificial intelligence. Evernet, always on, always present, so it's like, you know, the internet forever. Web3, they're talking about, which is blockchains, cloud, non-fungible tokens. Okay, bridging the physical and the digital. Editable nature because of nanotechnology, so things are editable. Like, for example, you know, we can even use nanotechnology to, you know, to fix problems in our bodies. Like, can you use little nanites to, you know, go clear away clogged arteries, etc., etc., etc. You know, so you know, those kinds of things. Quantum computing, so using subatomic particles to do things. Progress in green technology, so for example, you know, was going to say to you, you know, sort of using recycled things, doing wind turbines, doing solar, those kind of things. More human robots, so they look more human, they act more human. Autonomous delivery and logistics. Okay, so how do we do that? And I've got a slide on the next page to show you, or it's on the next page, I'm pretty sure. And then sustainable technology. Okay, so how do we create stuff that we can reuse without, you know, damaging the earth, damaging the environment, etc. So does any of these, you know, resonate with you? And do you want to pick up on any of these and discuss it from your perspective?
Can I just ask, with AI, do you think South Africa would ever be prepared for it? Let's look at load shedding, for example.
Okay, Dani, I completely agree with you. And I'm going to show you why just now. We're going to have a little quick discussion. I did an article a couple of years ago on it, and I can tell you that there are many, many reasons why it has major problems in the developing world. It's very much, you know, something. I mean, in a country like Japan and, you know, maybe the United States, AI is, you know, a significant contributor, and maybe in Europe, but in Africa, I'm not so sure, for very different reasons. Hey, so okay, is there anything you want to pick up on those? You want to discuss AI or any of those things over there? What do you think?
The other thing I wanted to talk about is,
yes,
I don't know, with technology, I feel like it's a bit tricky, especially when I look at the point of more human robots. I think it also resonates with AI. I think if we look at, for example, I saw this other documentary on Meta where people that have worked for companies such as Instagram, Google, Gmail, and all those companies came forward to speak about what's happening there with technology. I think because technology gets updated so much, right? This, to a certain extent, that this might be a problem. Maybe not in the beginning, but as time goes by, because they were also talking about how, because the algorithm is run by AI, by technology, and they were saying it's getting to a point where, especially for social media, for platforms such as Instagram, it's getting to a point where they cannot control the algorithm. So they're unable to keep up with the updates that technology has on its own, right?
wow.
So more with the human robots and the AI everywhere thing, I don't know, even if we were able as South Africa to adapt to this, I feel like at some point it's not going to be able to be managed. Also, just looking at how South Africa is being run, I don't think we have the resources for all of this. But in other countries, it makes sense. It just scares me when it gets to a point where there's a lot of human robots, because now what happens if it gets to a point where they are unable to control it, like they are being unable to control the technology that runs algorithms now?
I agree with you. I mean, it's a little terrifying for me. You know, I mean, like I said to you last week or the week before, it's like Terminator. You know, Skynet. You know, taking over. You know, we have robots who are controlling the world, and we become enslaved to them. You know, or robots becoming self-evident, self-aware. You know, becoming sentient, that kind of thing. It's very scary. So that moves me on to my next slide, because I think it's something that, and you're very young, you know, compared to me. So if you're, you know, concerned about it, you know, you can just imagine older people just don't really. But you can see over here. Okay, so here's an example. This is a movie called Ready Player One. Okay, and you compare Minority Report. So you got Pizza Hut. This is a movie set in the future, I think 10 or 20 years in the future, and done by Steven Spielberg, who also did Minority Report, and as mentioned earlier on. So in this movie, Ready Player One, there is a drone that delivers a Pizza Hut pizza. Okay, and now you can see in the visual at the bottom, they are now talking about this becoming reality. You can see drones delivering your pizza. So, but what happens in South Africa and in Africa, you know, to your Mr. Delivery guy or Takealot guy or Uber Eats guy, those, you know, positions provide so many jobs for people in Africa. I mean, I know that like Elon Musk and those people are saying, but we're actually going to run out of human capital because people in China are aging, people in America are aging, people in Japan are aging, and we're not replacing those humans as much as we used to. They're becoming older, so we need robots to do the work that human beings can no longer do. That's all fine and well and true in a place like Japan, where the population is definitely getting on, okay, and possibly even in places like, you know, parts of Europe. But what do you do in South Africa where, you know, Mr. Delivery driver is relying on that job, or Uber Eats guy is relying on that job? What do you think? What do you make of that?
I think this doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. Have they said how the drones are going to be controlled and all of that?
No, these are just, you know, they're obviously putting together the technology, But you can imagine, you know, somebody hijacks your pizza, you know, on the way from the thing. I think it's going to be very.
That's my question, especially in South Africa. You have to consider how much crime we have here.
Yeah.
People will never get their food. We're just gonna have people who sit outside the entire day waiting for food.
Yeah, I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you, which is so true. That's why I see I've included this in the thing. I wrote an article a couple of years ago called "We Burn Our Robots in Africa. They Keep Trying to Steal Our Jobs." So I'm just going to go through it with you, the bits and pieces. You can see over here I've written South Africa is an interesting dichotomy, a juxtaposition of the un-PC first and third worlds, where the haves and the have-nots reside uneasily together. With a 27% unemployment rate and a large unskilled workforce, retail is a major employer of people in the country. No, you will not find an Amazon Go store here, though this is the land that also spawned America's latest darling, Elon Musk. Like the music, film, and publishing industries before it, the retail industry has often been a harbinger of change. Disruptive innovations such as the internet affect these industries first, and they are frequently led by the creators and early adopters in the diffusion of innovation chronology that conjure up the disruption, induce it, encourage it, adopt it early, and then spread it to the early majority. Such it was that the distribution and consumption of music quickly morphed from CD to MP3 to streaming. Movies went from video to DVD to streaming. Books went from paper to radio to audio to ebook, and retail went from physical to digital and online shopping. The world's richest man, Jeff Bezos, now overtaken by Elon Musk, possibly, reportedly is now worth $150 billion. So now it's Elon Musk worth $300 billion, thanks to his company Amazon, and the world's first company valued at over $1 trillion, Apple, both prospered off of the back of change. This is irrefutable evidence that the importance of embracing and commercializing innovation. I've written over here, you can see we just discussed this. In a country like Japan, with a highly skilled but aging population characterized by low growth rates, robots make sense. Probably one of the reasons Japan has been at the forefront of the technology for such a long time, because they need robots, because they're old, you know, they're getting on. But in a country like South Africa, with a large and unskilled young population, would robots not be a recipe for anarchy and disaster? According to Stats SA, the retail sector employs almost 1 million people from the workforce in South Africa, earning between $400 and $900 per month, and it contributes some 15% to the GDP. How effectively has the informal retail sector with spaza shops and the likes been calibrated? The number of people dependent on the single salary is possibly as high as 4. Assuming that most of the workforce become redundant, if they were robots, what would all these people do and how would they eat? And then I've written over here is the political implications alone are too onerous to contemplate. SA sits with an unofficial employment rate of 27%, while the unemployment youth are at 67%. This is potentially volatile and explosive, not to make light of the tragedies that have befallen SA in the past, but it would probably not be inconceivable to witness a mob putting a tire filled with petrol over a robot and burning it in effigy as part of some digital necklacing. The company that initially ekes out a living fixing robots due to strike, industrial action, and sabotage would probably make a fortune over time. Ditto for the company hired to protect the robots. Botjacking could potentially become a new and very lucrative cottage industry. Okay, so the point I'm trying to make over here is, could you imagine the ramifications of, you know, like you said, how are you going to get the pizza delivered without somebody shooting your drone out of the sky, okay, and then stealing your pizza, okay, or reprogramming the drone to bring the pizza to you, or, you know, I mean, it's something that happens. I had to laugh. I don't know if you've seen these things. They have what they call in America porch pirates, which is, you know, you get UPS and, you know, what's it called? FedEx, you know, that does all of these deliveries, you know, these delivery companies in America. And what they do in America, because they don't have high walls and gates and fences and locked away, they just go and drop the stuff on, you know, on their front porch, you know, on their front doorstep. Okay?
Yes.
And of course, many people in America have got these cameras, and you'll see somebody driving past and they'll run up to the steps or, you know, to the front door, grab the stuff and run away and jump in the car and steal it, you know. And it's so funny to watch this happening in America, because that doesn't happen here, because, you know, a courier has to phone you to give it to you in your hand. You never ever leave it unattended on the side of the road. So we didn't have any of those problems, because, you know, you'd never get it. And then, of course, you'd phone the courier company and moan and say, where's my stuff? You know, they didn't bring me my stuff, and then they'd have to replace it. You know, so it's very different here. And I mean, could you imagine, okay, you get some little robot. It's like the size of like a little, I don't know, you know, like a little machine. So sort of like the size of, you know, like maybe, you know, like a little small little car, but literally like, you know, this like the size of an A page, or like an A2 page. It's about, you know, it's small little thing. You know, it easily fits onto, smaller than like a wheelchair. Okay, that fits on, and it's traveling along the road. Okay, in South Africa, first of all on the pavement. First of all, it falls into a pothole, or falls into one of those things where, you know, the copper plate, or the metal plate, the metal grid that's covering the manhole's missing, so it falls into there. Or could you imagine some dude on the side of the road, and then you got this robot and it's delivering a, you know, whatever, a parcel. They'll steal the parcel and they'll steal the robot. Do you agree?
There are going to be people who make it their job to wait for drones to take people's food.
I agree with you, 100%. I agree with you, yeah. So I don't know how they'd implement it, you know, in a society where you don't have massive unemployment rates and those kind. I mean, you know, did the looting from 2021, did that affect you or your family in any way? Were you, you know, were shops in your area closed? You know, did you struggle to? I mean, where we stay, you know, we had, the shops were closed for like 3 or 4 days. We couldn't, you know, get food. We had to, you know, then lay in stocks or travel further out, whatever it was. You know, we couldn't. So, did you have any of that, or were you guys all fine?
No, we were okay. We were never really affected.
Okay. Okay, but you can see, I mean, just think about, you know, that is, you know, and I mean, like, for example, people are not terrified about Monday, the national shutdown with, you know, Julius Malema and the EFF. How is it going to affect, you know, people bringing in, you know, food, or, you know, protecting logistics warehouses, or is it just going to be an excuse for people to go crazy and loot and riot and, you know, whatever, etc.? And so people are concerned about that, you know. So, yeah, okay, let's just go back to what else resonates with you on this list? Would you say over here, these things that you think, and then let's get your feelings on the matter, and your thoughts in line of what we discussed today. So hits and niches, hits and misses, and niches and blockbusters and whatever. So what is over here resonates with you on this list?
Can we just go back a bit to bridging physical and digital? What does it exactly speak about?
If you go and read the article, so what it'll say is, they're very similar. All these things are very, very similar. But for example, if you have a Woolworths store, okay, which is a physical bricks and mortar store.
Yes.
Okay, then they'll also have a digital thing, so you can like shop online. So you can order things now. What you can also do is, let's say they have a new selection of clothing, a new range of clothing that comes in. Okay, so we're heading into autumn and back into winter. So you log on to, you get a newsletter. They say, you know, dear Onalena, how are you this week? I just want to share with you the latest Woolworths catalog. Click onto this link over here and we'll take you through. So then you click on, it takes you to the Woolworths page. You see the stunning new, you know, winter jacket that you think is gorgeous. So you say, oh, I like that over there. So you click onto it and then you buy it online, and you click on deliver to Sandton City store. I'm wanting it in, you know, the small size, whatever it is, and I'll be there to collect it. And then they put it aside for you. Then you walk in there and say hi, and you show them your phone and say, hi, here is my order number, here's proof of payment. Yes, certainly, here you go, ma'am, here is your outfit for you. So you can see you've dealt with them digitally, but then you had to physically go into the store to go and get. So that's one example. You You know, for example, when we see it all the time. So what they're saying in this article about trends, okay, is that that is just going to become more and more and more prevalent as time goes on. So we're going to see this big overlap between the digital and the physical. Or you can even go into a store which is physical because you want to have the experience of shopping and the emotional shopping, but then you'll pick up your phone. You don't even need to have your card with you anymore. You can now just have your internet banking attached to your phone and tap your phone against the machine to remove money from your card. You don't even need to have your card with you anymore. Do you use that? Have you ever like that before?
I have trust issues. No.
Okay, that's honest. You have trust issues. I don't do that. I will tap my card, at the till, but it's got a limit, so it's not monthly, that much because you don't want to spend all your money or get somebody to, to take money out of your card. But so now there's an example of, something. So you're very much a digital native. You live on social media. You don't watch, you have never watched the movies, but you won't necessarily use the digital technology that much because you have trust issues. That's very honest. Cool. Okay, great. What else? What's your feeling on green? How do you feel about green, renewable, sustainable? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't really know because I don't think I'm too clued up on it. I've heard about it before, but I just don't think I'm clued enough on it to have an opinion.
Okay. How do you think do you think that solving Eskom's problems are going to happen with green technology? Do you think we need more wind turbines? Do we need more solar power? Do we need more hydroelectric power? Do you think we need to, what do you think? What do you think? What would you say?
I think it would make sense for Eskom, yes, but I don't see it happening unless they figure out a way to still be corrupt with that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I don't see it happening.
Okay. Yeah, because you're right. There will be a lot of corruption involved. It's sad. Hey, it's very sad. And the thing is, yeah, I believe now there's 3 German companies that have been approached or have approached South Africa and said this is how you solve the problem, because I have family who live in Europe, and there, for example, if you don't like the one Eskom, you just go to the other Eskom because they're all private. So if you don't like, this energy delivery company A, you just cancel your contract with them and go to energy delivery company B. So because you have that kind of competition, they deliver really good services. Otherwise, they get, you change companies. So obviously, there are also limitations. If you look at the increase in the price of gas with the war in Russia, natural gas. What's it called? LPG, liquid petroleum gas. I think, no, was it liquid? I don't know. LPG, is it LPG? LNG, liquid natural gas, LNG. Okay, so those kinds of things, how that's affected by the war in Ukraine, etc. So, okay, cool. So,
I'm sorry, I just want to ask, do you know which, where Germany get their power?
They do generate a fair amount of it themselves. They were nuclear after Fukushima in 2011. They said no, we don't want nuclear anymore. So they were getting rid of nuclear. They had been tempted to go back to nuclear because because of the shortage of petroleum and other products from Russia. But they don't. So they're still using some coal-fired power stations, but they still have some nuclear power. I think they're all being phased out, but they use some nuclear, and they use a lot of renewable energy. So there is wind turbines, some solar. It's Europe, so they don't have a lot of sun. So there's wind turbines, and then they're starting to get gas and liquid natural gas, those kind of things, from other parts of Europe, and then also they're getting some imports from the United States now, and they're also starting to look at Africa. So Nigeria, for example, and I think one of the other countries in West Africa has got big supplies of natural natural gas, and also from the Middle East. So they're basically getting it from everywhere except from Russia, because they're trying to become less dependent on Russia. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. It does.
Okay, cool. Cool. Okay, so, well, there we go. So, you can see over there in terms of, now you can ask yourself, how does this apply to, to hits and misses? Well, remember, you need to be able to sell the idea of these technologies either using media, or you need to have to sell the ideas basically that because they involve media. So let's have a look at, for example, an electric car. Like you were saying earlier on, there is no place for an electric car in South Africa, because where are you going to recharge it? Are you going to go to the petrol station, and how does it work? How much are you going to pay? There's no electricity at this time. How are you going to? It's very difficult to determine these things. It's very difficult to. Do you agree with me? Do you see the difficulties there?
Yes, I agree with you.
Okay.
Because,
and then yes, right.
But also, I think with electric cars,
Yes.
it's very different because they're not all around South Africa. You get what I'm saying? So when someone has an electric car, it's either they have the whatever that thing that they charge on is called. It's either they have it at their disposal, meaning that at home, because I've never seen them like around, such as like petrol stations. I don't think they are everywhere in South Africa as yet. So having it in South Africa sounds just a bit tricky.
Yes. Yeah. I would definitely agree with you. I think it's very difficult to put them in place at this point, and then also in terms of anything that's going to interfere with, there's another part of that article that I didn't, cut and paste into the slides, that says, government is never going to allow any kind of technology or any kind of hits or misses in terms of media that's going to interfere with their ability to, their ability to win elections. Like, for example, they were saying that when Ramaphosa said at the State of the Nation address or the budget speech, he was saying, we were thinking of writing off all of Soweto's electricity debt, and that's billions and billions of rand. That was just an election promise. We want to write it off because you want people to vote for the ANC in the election. Is that even possible? But, for example, if they wanted to introduce robots into South Africa, how possible? And of course, all the corruption that goes around. About the Car Power ship, which are these offshore ships in the oceans, where they supply. I think they actually mine the natural gas in the oceans, convert it into electricity, and then ship it into the country. And they've got, honestly, that's all steeped in and mired in controversy because of corruption. Same thing with Medupi and Kusile, the power stations. Okay, now, for example, you want to bring in robots. Okay, take away jobs from people, because that's going to make people very unhappy.
Yes.
Okay. Are you going to get people to vote for you then, etc.? And what are the implications around the fraud, the corruption around those things? Because no company is going to, well, the government is going to their slice, and people are going to want to line their back pockets. In terms of corruption. So there are all those kinds of things we need to keep in mind in terms of in terms of, and again, if we take this back to me and you say, well, Rob, what has this got to do with the subject? What has this got to do with media? Okay, remember, nothing that we do these days, especially these days, works in isolation. So how do you convince the electorate that a robot needs to be taxed, or is a bad idea, or I'm justified in adding a profit, or you would use the media? And how do all of these things, are robots going to be integrated? For example, let's talk about, just briefly, and then we're going to finish this lecture. Okay, you go into a house that's got a smart fridge, and your smart fridge sends you a WhatsApp. You're now at Boston. Your smart fridge sends you a WhatsApp and says, you don't have the milk is finished. okay, because it's got sensors that can pick up the smell of milk or the, whatever it is, and it says you go get some milk. So you don't need to remember, oh shucks, I forgot to buy milk. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So that would be very convenient, and we're probably heading in that direction. Okay, but how is it possible for us to control that, and what are the implications? Like, for example, if you had an app on your phone that not only the fridge alerted the app that you didn't have milk, but then the app then went and ordered the milk for you, and when you got home, or you just went and collected, said, hi, your milk is available for you, ready to collect for you at the store. Please go and collect your milk, or whatever it is. Like, oh, okay, there we go, that's cool. Or it's delivered at home, and make sure that somebody's at home to collect it. Those kinds of things. How does media interface with that? What are the implications, and how do you set that up to create sustainable competitive advantage in terms of your marketing? If you go back to the marketing definition, the definition of marketing, the definition of branding, the overall definition of marketing, which is the management of profitable customer relationships, the creation of sustainable competitive advantage. Cool. Annalena, do you have any questions?
No.
You're good?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you for staying. I appreciate it. Now that I know you work for Boston, I'll always insist. Ha ha ha. You must have a really good evening and enjoy yourself. And please remember, don't wait too late to get a start on your assignment, hey?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you, darling. Have a lovely evening and see you
Yes.
next week.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.